The afternoon sun beats down on Camp Clinton, Mississippi like a hammer on an anvil. It is June 23, 1945, and the temperature has climbed past 95 degrees. The air hangs thick and heavy, saturated with the smell of red clay dust and human exhaustion. Along the gravel road that cuts through the camp perimeter, a convoy truck appears. Its engine sputters and coughs as it approaches the main gate. Corporal Ben Williams stands at his post, clipboard in hand, squinting against the glare. He has been stationed at Camp Clinton for 14 months. In that time, he has processed over 2,000 German prisoners of war. Most happens in groups of 20 or 30, sullen men with hollow eyes and threadbare uniforms. Men who stop believing in victory months before the surrender. Men who are simply grateful to be alive. But this truck carries only 11 prisoners, 10 men and 1 woman. Williams lowers his clipboard and stars. In 14 months, he has never seen a female prisoner of war arrive at this camp. Not one. The truck rolls to a stop. Dust billows up around the wheels. The engine dies with a final rattling cough. For a moment, nothing moves except the heat waves shimmering above the road. The tailgate drops. The 10 men climb down slowly. They move like men 3 times their age. Stiff joints, movements carefully. They line up along the side of the truck or bar of the truck without being told. Years of military discipline, they are carved into their bones. But the woman doesn't move. Williams walks around to the back of the truck and looks inside. She sits in the far corner, knees pulled to her chest. Her blonde hair has been cut short and uneven. Someone used dull scissors or perhaps a knife. Her uniform hangs loose on her frame, several sizes too large. When Williams calls out to her, she does not look up. He tries again in broken German. Still nothing. One of the male prisoners, an older man with a gray beard, speaks up. He says the girl has been like this since Virginia. She barely eats. She doesn't speak. Something is wrong. Williams feels a knot forming in his stomach. Something about the way she holds herself, the way she stares at nothing. It reminds him of men he saw after heavy shelling. Men whose minds had gone somewhere their bodies could not follow. He climbs into the truck bed and approaches slowly. When he extends his hand, she flinches. That is when he sees her hands grabbing her knees. They are trembling. He backs away and jogs to the guard station. He picks up the telephone and calls the camp medical officer. Dr. James Mitchell answers on the 3rd ring. Williams tells him there is a situation at the gate, a female prisoner, possible medical emergency. Mitchell says he will be there in 5 minutes. Williams returns to the truck. The girl has not moved. The 10 men wait in silence. The sun continues to beat down. Sweat runs down Williams' spine. He thinks about his sister, back in Ohio. She is about this girl's age, maybe a year or 2 older. He wonders what he would want someone to do if his sister were sitting alone in a truck in a foreign country, unable to move, unable to speak. He climbs back into the truck. This time he does not try to touch her. He sits down about 6 feet away and speaks softly. He tells her his name. He tells her she is safe now. He tells her the war is over. She does not respond, but after a long moment her eyes shift slightly in his direction. Dr. James Mitchell arrives 4 minutes later. He is 42 years old with gray appearing at his temples. He served in North Africa and France before being reassigned to prisoner of war medical services. He has stitched wounds and amputated limbs and held dying men while they called for their mothers. He thought he had seen every kind of injury the war could produce. He climbs into the truck and kneels beside the girl. He speaks to her in German. His accent is decent. He learned the language during his pre-war travels through Europe. He asks if she is injured. She shakes her head, but the movement is slow and mechanical, like pulling a lever. He asks her name. She whispers something so quiet he has to lean in. Anna. Her name is Anna Hoffman. He asks permission to examine her. She does not say yes, but she does not say no. He takes that as consent. He checks her pulse, 110 beats per minute. Far too fast. Her skin is cold despite the heat. Clammy, classic signs of shock. He gently lifts the edge of her uniform shirt just enough to check her abdomen. What he sees makes him stop breathing. Bruises. Dark purple and black bruises spread across her left side like spilled ink. Some are fading to yellow at the edges. Those are at least a week old. But others are fresh, recent. He presses two fingers gently just below her ribcage. Her entire body goes rigid. She doesn't scream. She doesn't cry out. That worries him more than if she had. He pulls back and looks at her face. Her lips are pale, almost white. Her eyes have the glassy, unfocused look of someone in severe pain who has learned to hide it. He has seen this before. In soldiers who suffered internal injuries but kept marching because stopping meant death. Mitchell turns to Williams. Get her to the infirmary. Now, not walking, carry her. Two guards lift Anna under the arms. Her feet drag as they carry her across the compound. Halfway to the infirmary building, her body convulses. She vomited onto the red dirt. The guards stop, unsure what to do. Mitchell runs forward and looks down at what came out of her, bile mixed with something darker. Blood, not bright red like a fresh wound. Dark, almost black. The color of blood that has been sitting inside a body for days or weeks. Mitchell starts running. He shouts for the guards to move faster. Behind him, the puddle of vomit soaks into the Mississippi dirt. 10 German prisoners stand in the sun and watch a girl being carried away. They don't know her name. They don't know her story. But they know what trauma looks like. They have all seen it before. The infirmary is a long wooden building with white painted walls and 8 beds. Mitchell bursts through the door, shouting for Nurse Sarah Thompson. She appears from the back room, wiping her hands on her apron. She is 52 years old, gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. She has worked in hospitals for 30 years. 2 of her sons are fighting in the Pacific. Her husband died in 1943. She learned to keep moving because stopping means thinking, and thinking means breaking. The guards put Anna on a cot in the examination room. Sarah cuts away the top of her uniform with medical shears. The girl is too weak to undress herself. When the fabric falls away, both Sarah and Mitchell go still. Bruises cover 40% of her torso. Yellow ones fading, purple ones recent, black ones severe. But the pattern is what catches Mitchell's eye. They are concentrated, focused, along her left side from the lowest rib down to her hip. This is not random trauma. This is not combat injury. This is systematic abuse. Someone targeted specific areas of her body with precision. He presses gently near her left rib cage. The skin is swollen and tight. He feels the rigidity beneath. Abdominal guarding, classic sign of internal bleeding. He has felt this before in soldiers with shrapnel wounds, men whose livers or spleens had been torn open. But Anna has no shrapnel entry points. She has no gunshot wounds. She has bruises. Someone beat her, repeatedly, with enough force to rupture internal organs. Mitchell looks at Sarah. Prepare the operating room. We are going in now. Sarah nods and disappears. Mitchell leans over Anna and speaks softly in German. He tells her she needs surgery. He tells her she is bleeding inside. He tells her they are going to fix it. She looks at him with those glassy eyes. Her lips barely move, but he reads the words. After. It happened afterwards. After that, he asks. After I was captured. The words hit him like a fist. She was not injured in battle. She was not hurt during the collapse of the Reich. She was captured by Allied forces, processed through Allied facilities, transported on Allied ships. And somewhere in that chain of custody, someone beat this 18-year-old girl so badly her spleen broke up. Mitchell steps out of the room. He walks to the hallway telephone and calls Colonel Thomas Briggs, the camp commander. The phone rings 4 times. Briggs answers with his usual gruff efficiency. Mitchell does not waste words. We have a situation. Female German prisoner, 18 years old, broken spleen, possible kidney damage, fractured ribs. Injuries consist of torture. There is silence on the other end. Then Briggs asked the question Mitchell knew was coming. When did this happen? Before or after capture? Afterwards, Mitchell says. She says it happened after. More silence. Then Briggs tells him to document everything. Every noise, every injury, every word she says. Take photographs if possible. The Geneva Convention requires full investigation of prisoner abuse, even if the victim is German, even if it complicated things politically. Mitchell hangs up. He returns to the examination room. Sarah has already moved Anna to the operating room. Lieutenant Paul Graves, the anesthesiologist, is setting up his equipment. Mitchell scrubs his hands in the sink. The water runs brown with Mississippi dirt before it finally clears. He dries his hands and puts on surgical gloves. Then he walks into the operating room. Two overhead lamps hum above the table. Anna lies still under a white sheet. Her breathing is shallow, 28 breaths per minute. Graves has already started the anesthesia. A mask covers her nose and mouth. Her eyes are closed now. For the first time since arriving at Camp Clinton, she looks peaceful. Mitchell picks up the scalpel. Sarah stands ready with suction equipment. Graves monitors the vital signs. Heart rate 115, blood pressure dropping, 80/50. They need to move quickly. The incision follows the line of her lowest rib on the left side. The moment Mitchell opens the peritoneum, blood wells up. It spills over the edges of the incision. Sarah uses the suction tube. The machine whirs and pulls. Mitchell reaches inside. The spleen should feel firm and smooth. This one feels torn. He locates the capsule that surrounds the organ. It has two distinct ruptures. Blood leaks continuously from both. If this had gone untreated for another 6 hours, Anna would have been bled to death internally, quietly, without screaming, because a ruptured spleen often does not hurt until the very end. But that is not what shocks Mitchell. What shocks him is the surrounding tissue. The spleen is not the only damaged organ. Her left kidney is severely bruised. Dark purple discoloration spreads across its surface. And her ribs. He can see them through the muscle tissue. Ribs at 9, 10, and 11 show hairline fractures. The bone is trying to heal. New calcium deposits have formed. That means the trauma happened at least 2 weeks ago, maybe 3. Mitchell has seen injuries like this before. In the Italian campaign, they found an American pilot who had been captured and tortured by SS officers. They beat him methodically over days. Same spot, over and over. Maximum internal damage with minimal external evidence. That pilot survived long enough to be rescued, but his spleen and kidney never fully recovered. Anna suffered the same treatment, but she was not tortured by enemy forces. She was tortured after the war ended, after Germany surrendered, after she became a prisoner of the Allied powers. Mitchell removes the ruptured spleen entirely. It is standard procedure. Humans can live without a spleen, though their immune systems are weakened. He clears the abdominal cavity of accumulated blood, nearly 800 milliliters, more than a pint and a half. He checks for additional bleeding. The kidney is damaged but not ruptured. It should heal on its own. He closed the incision. 47 stitches internal, 23 external. The surgery takes 90 minutes. When it is done, Mitchell strips off his gloves. His hands are shaking. Not from fatigue, from anger. He walks out into the hallway where Colonel Briggs is waiting. Briggs is 58 years old, career officer. He has run 3 prisoner of war camps during this war. He follows regulations. He does his job. He does not ask for trouble. But when Mitchell tells him what he found during surgery, Briggs's jaw tightens. Systematic torture, multiple injuries over time, healing fractures. Someone beat this girl repeatedly over at least 2 weeks. Mitchell nods. And based on the transport manifest, she came from a holding facility in Lyon, France. Briggs closes his eyes. Lyon is a joint facility, American and Free French forces. If the abuse happened there, it means Allied personnel were involved. That makes this a diplomatic nightmare. But it also means they have to investigate. The Geneva Convention is clear. Any evidence of prisoner abuse must be reported up the chain of command. No exceptions. Briggs tells Mitchell to write up a full surgical report. Include everything, every injury, every observation, every suspicion. He will send a coded telegram to Regional Command in Texas tonight. This needs to go all the way to the War Department. Mitchell returns to check on Anna. She is in the recovery room now, still unconscious. Sarah sits beside her bed knitting. She does this for all her patients. The steady rhythm of needles clicking together. It soothes her, helps her think. Mitchell pulls up a chair. They sit in silence for a while. Then Sarah speaks without looking up from her knitting. That girl has been through hell. Mitchell agrees. Sarah continues. I have 2 sons fighting in the Pacific. I pray every night they come home safe. But I also pray that if they are ever captured, someone shows them mercy. Someone treats them like human beings, not animals. She pauses and looks at Anna. Whoever did this to her is no better than the Nazis we have been fighting. Mitchell has no answer to that, because she is right. Anna wakes up 36 hours later. It is June 25th, early morning. The sun is just beginning to rise over Mississippi. Sarah is still there dozing in her chair. When Anna's eyes open, Sarah wakes up instantly. Nurse instinct. She offers Anna water. Anna drinks with shaking hands. Sarah asks if she is in pain. Anna nods. Sarah administers a small dose of morphine, enough to take the edge off, not enough to make her unconscious again. They need her alert. They need her to talk. 2 hours later, Colonel Briggs and Dr. Mitchell enter the room. Briggs pulls up a chair. Mitchell stands near the door. Briggs speaks in English. Sarah translates into German. Briggs tells Anna she is safe now. He tells her no one in this camp will hurt her. He tells her if she can explain who injured her, the United States Army will investigate. Anna stares at the ceiling. She does not respond. Briggs waits. Mitchell shifts his weight. Sarah touches Anna's hand gently. That simple gesture of kindness is what breaks through. Anna starts talking. She speaks in German, slowly, with long pauses. Sarah translates in real time. Anna says she was not a soldier. She was a telephone operator for a Wehrmacht supply unit in Bavaria. When the Americans advanced in late April, her unit retreated. She was separated during an air raid. She hid in a barn for 3 days. On May 2nd, American soldiers found her. They took her into custody. She was processed as a prisoner of war and sent to a holding facility near Lyon in France. This facility was supposed to be temporary. Prisoners were supposed to stay for a few days before being moved to permanent camps or repatriation centers. Anna stayed there for 6 weeks. The room goes quiet. Briggs leans forward. What happened during those 6 weeks? Anna closes her eyes. For a moment, Mitchell thinks she will not answer. Then she speaks again. For the first week, things were tolerable. An American sergeant supervised the women's work detail. He was strict but fair. Then he was transferred. A new supervisor has arrived, a French corporal. She never learned his full name. The guards called him Laurent. Laurent was tall, maybe 45 years old, gray hair, a scar on his left hand. He carried a wooden baton on his belt. On his first day, he told the women he hated Germans. He said his village was burned by the Wehrmacht in 1940. His sister died in the fire. He said every German in the facility reserved to suffer. At first, he only shouted. Then he started using the stick. He struck the women on the shoulders, the back, the legs. Anna was hit twice in the first 3 days. The blows hurt, but did not insult her seriously. Then on May 22nd, she dropped a crate of radio parts. The crate shattered. Parts scattered across the floor. Laurent walked over. He told her to stand up. Then he struck her across the ribs with the stick. She fell. He struck hers again. Same place, then he kicked her while she was on the ground. The other women did not intervene. The guards at the door did not intervene. When the beating stopped, Anna could not stand. She was carried back to the barracks. No doctor examined her. No report was filed. She didn't return to work for 4 days. On May 31st, she was forced back. She could barely walk. The pain in her left side was constant. Laurent looked at her with a smile. He didn't strike her that day. The threat was enough. 5 days later, she was too slow carrying ammunition boxes. Laurent walked up behind her and slammed the baton into her lower back. She dropped the boxes. He struck her again. Same spot. She collapsed. She woke up in the infirmary. A doctor examined her. He gave her aspirin and sent her back to the barracks. He said she had minor bruises. He said she was fit for light duty. 10 days later, she was put on transport to the United States. She spent 12 days at sea in the cargo hold of a ship. She could barely move. She could barely eat. When she arrived at Camp Clinton, she was still bleeding inside. Anna finishes speaking and opens her eyes. She looks at Briggs. She asks a question in German. Sarah translates, "Will you punish him?" Briggs doesn't know how to answer that because the honest answer is he does not know. Laurent is French. The facility is jointly operated. Jurisdiction is complicated. Politics are involved. But he cannot say that to this girl who just poured out her trauma. So instead he says, "We will investigate. I promised you that." Anna nods, but there is no hope in her eyes. She has learned not to expect justice. Briggs and Mitchell leave the room. They walk down the hallway in silence. Finally, Briggs speaks. "This is going to be a mess. If the French government finds out we are investigating one of their soldiers, they will push back. They need to maintain credibility with their own people. They cannot afford to have their soldiers accused of war crimes right after liberation. Mitchell stops walking. So what are you saying? We do nothing. Briggs shakes his head. No, we do our jobs. We are investigating. We document. We report. But I am telling you right now, do not expect a conviction. Do not expect justice. The girl is German. The perpetrator is French. Politics are impossible. Mitchell feels the anger rising again. She is 18 years old. She was tortured after the war ended. I know, Briggs says quietly, I know. But knowing does not change the reality. That evening, Briggs sat in his office and types out a telegram to the War Department. He rewrites it 3 times. The first version is too angry. The second version is too detailed. The third version strikes the right balance of professional reporting and moral outrage. He sends it at 2100 hours. The telegram reads, urgent. Female German POW arrived Camp Clinton with severe internal injuries. Broken spleen, fractured ribs, contused kidney. Injuries consistent with systematic physical abuse. Prisoner alleges abuse occurred at Lyon, holding facility May 1945 by Free French Forces personnel. Request immediate investigator assignment. Full medical documentation attached. Waiting orders. He leans back in his chair and stares at the ceiling. Somewhere in France, a man named Laurent is going about his life. Drinking, sleeping, maybe even laughing. He has no idea that the girl he beat is still alive. He has no idea she talked. He has no idea the United States Army is about to come looking for him. Or maybe he does know. Maybe that is why he transferred out before she was shipped away. Maybe he knew exactly what he was doing. Briggs thinks about his own daughters, 16 and 19 years old, safe at home in Virginia. He wonders what he would do if someone hurt them the way Laurent hurt Anna. He wonders if he could show the restraint and professionalism the Army expects of him. He doubts it. In the infirmary, Anna lies awake. The morphine has worn off. The pain is back. But it is not the physical pain keeping her awake. It is the fear. She told them everything. She gave them Laurent's name. She described what he did. And now she is terrified of what comes next. What if he finds out she talked? What if he comes for her? What if telling the truth was the biggest mistake she ever made? Sarah sits in the corner still knitting. She glances up and sees Anna is awake. She sets down her needles and walks over. She takes Anna's hand. You are safe here, she says in her limited German. Safe. Anna wants to believe her, but safety is a concept she no longer understands. Safety died in a warehouse in Lyon when a wooden baton cracked his ribs. Safety died when guards stood at the door and did nothing. Safety died when the war ended, but the violence continued. She closes her eyes and tries to sleep, but all she can see is Laurent's face. All she can hear is the sound of the baton striking flesh. All she can feel is the moment her spleen tore open inside her body. And she wonders if justice is even possible, or if she survived one kind of hell only to enter another kind, a quieter kind, the kind where the world knows what happened but chooses to look away. The telegram arrives at the War Department in Washington on June 28, 1945. It sits in an inbox for 6 hours before anyone reads it. When someone finally does, it gets flagged immediately. Female prisoner, torture allegations, Allied facility. The file moves up 3 levels of command in 2 days. On July 3rd, the assignment goes out. Major Robert Hayes, Judge Advocate General's Office, age 38, Harvard Law Class of 1931. He investigated 3 prisoner of war abuse cases in Europe. All 3 resulted in convictions. His reputation is simple. He doesn't let go. Hayes receives the orders while finishing paperwork in Paris. He reads the case summary twice. German female, 18 years old, broken spleen. Allegations against Free French forces. He knows immediately this will be different from his previous cases. Those involved American personnel. Clear chain of command. Simple jurisdiction. This one involves an ally. Politics will be complicated. He packs his briefcase and catches a military transport to the United States. 36 hours later, he walks through the gates of Camp Clinton, carrying a leather satchel and a box of German chocolates. The chocolates are for Anna, a small gesture. But Hayes learned long ago that victims of trauma respond better to kindness than authority. Colonel Briggs meets him at the administration building. They shake their hands. Briggs is direct. The girl is fragile. physically recovered but psychologically damaged. She barely speaks. She refuses to be alone with men. Even Dr. Mitchell has to have Nurse Thompson present during examinations. Hayes nods. He expected this. Torture does not end when the beating stops. It continues in the mind, in the nightmares, in the flinching at sudden movements, in the inability to trust. They walk to the infirmary together. Sarah Thompson greets them at the door. She looks Hayes up and down with the practiced eye of a woman who has seen every kind of man the military produces. She decides he passes inspection, but barely. Anna sits in a chair by the window. She has gained a little weight. Her color is better. The surgical wound is healing well. But her eyes still have that distant quality, like she is watching the world from behind thick glass. Hayes enters slowly. He does not tower over her. He pulls up a chair and sits at eye level. He introduces himself in fluent German. His accent is good, not perfect, but respectful. He tells her he is here to listen, not to judge. He places the box of chocolates on the table between them, a peace offering. Anna looks at the chocolates but does not reach for them. Hayes does not push. Instead, he starts talking about himself. He tells her he studied in Berlin in 1932 and 1933. He loved the city, the music halls, the bookshops, the cafes along Untold and Linden. He tells her about the friends he made there, some Jews, some communists, some just ordinary people trying to live ordinary lives. He tells her he knows what happened to those friends. Most did not survive. The ones who did are scattered across the world. Refugees, displaced, haunted. He tells her this because he wants her to understand something. He does not see her as the enemy. He sees her as a survivor, and survivors deserve to have their stories heard. Anna listens without speaking, but after 15 minutes she reaches for a chocolate. She unwraps it slowly and places it in her mouth. The sweetness makes her eyes close. For just a moment she is somewhere else, somewhere before the war, before the camps, before Laurent. Hayes waits. He has learned that silence is often more powerful than questions. People fill silence with truth. Finally, Anna speaks. She asks him a question in German. Why do you care what happened to me? I am nobody. Just one girl among millions. Hayes leans forward. Because every voice matters. Every story matters. What happened to you was wrong, and wrong things need to be done right. Anna shakes her head. You cannot make this right. He is French. I am German. The war is over. Who will believe me? Hayes opens his briefcase and pulls out a folder. Inside are Dr. Mitchell's surgical notes, photographs of her injuries, the transport manifest showing her journey from Lyon to Virginia to Mississippi. He spreads them on the table. I believe you, he says. Dr. Mitchell believes you. Colonel Briggs believes you. That is 3 people, and I am going to find more. Over the next 2 hours, Anna tells Hayes her story again. But this time she includes details she did not share with Briggs. Small things, important things. The smell of cognac on Laurent's breath, the way he hummed while he walked around the warehouse, the flask he carried with an inscription, for Aden, for father. She describes the other women on the work detail, Maria, Greta, Ilse, Katrine. She doesn't know their last names, but she remembers their faces. Maria was older, maybe 26. She tried to protect the younger girls. She was the one who carried Anna back to the barracks after the first beating. Hayes takes detailed notes. He asks about Laurent's appearance, height, build, hair color, accent. Anna does her best. Tall, maybe 6 feet 1 inch. Broad shoulders but starting to go soft in the middle. Gray hair. Always needed a shave. The scar on his left hand looked like a burn, not a cut. And his accent. She cannot place it exactly. But one of the guards said he was from Provence, somewhere in the south. Hayes writes everything down. When they finish, he thanks her. He tells her this information is valuable. It gives him somewhere to start. Anna looks at him with those hollow eyes. What if you find him? What then? Then he faces justice, Hayes says. But Anna does not look convinced. She has learned that justice is a word people use when they want you to stop asking questions. Hayes leaves the infirmary and returns to the administration building. He sends 3 telegrams that afternoon. One to the War Department requesting access to Lyon facility records. One to the Free French Forces Liaison Office in Paris requesting personnel files. One to the International Red Cross asking for lists of female German prisoners on process through Lyon in May and June 1945. Then he waits. Investigations are 90% waiting, 10% action. Hayes has learned patience. The response from Lyon comes first. The facility closed on June 15th. All records transferred to Paris. Contact the Occupation Command headquarters for access. The response from the Free French liaison comes 3 days later. They will review the request. Processing time, estimated 2 to 3 weeks. The Red Cross responds with a list. 23 female German prisoners were held at Lyon between May 1st and June 15th. The list includes names but not current locations. Most have been repatriated or transferred. Tracking them will take time. Hayes reviews the list in his temporary office at Camp Clinton. 23 names, 23 potential witnesses. But finding them is like searching for specific grains of sand on a beach. Europe is chaos, millions of people displaced, refugees streaming across borders. Record-keeping is inconsistent at best. He decides to start with the most likely source, Lyon itself. On July 10th, he boards a military transport back to France. The Lyon facility sits on the edge of the city, a converted factory surrounded by barbed wire. When Hayes arrives, the place is nearly empty. Most of the prisoners have been moved. Only a skeleton crew of guards remains. The compound feels like a ghost town. Hayes interviews 8 former guards over 2 days. 5 claim they do not remember any German women prisoners. 2 remember there were women but provide no details. The 8th guard, a private named Morrison, admitted he saw some incidents, but he was ordered not to interfere. What kind of incidents, Hayes asks. The French corporal who supervised the women's detail. He was rough with them, shouting, sometimes hitting. Morrison didn't see anything serious, or so he claims. But his eyes do not meet Hayes's when he says it. Hayes asks about the corporal's name. Morrison shrugs. Laurent something. He doesn't remember the last name. The guy transferred out in early June. Just disappeared one day. Hayes pushes harder. What did this Laurent look like? Morrison describes a man matching Anna's description. Tall, gray hair, scar on his hand, bad temper, drank too much. Did you ever report his behavior, Hayes asks. Morrison looks uncomfortable. We were told to maintain good relations with Free French personnel. They were allies. We did not want to cause problems. Hayes feels his jaw tighten. So you watched him abuse prisoners and did nothing. Morrison's face hardens. I followed orders. That is what soldiers do. Hayes thanks him for his time, but as he walks away, he thinks about the Nuremberg trials happening in Germany right now. The defense of following orders is being rejected there. It should be rejected here too. He spends the next week searching for facility records. The archive building in Paris is a maze of filing cabinets and cardboard boxes. Records are mixed together, German documents, French documents, American documents. No organization, no system. Hayes works 12-hour days going through files. He finds requisition forms, transport manifests, medical logs, but nothing with Laurent's full name, nothing that definitively proves abuse occurred. On July 24th, everything changes. A telegram arrives from a displaced persons camp in Belgium. A German woman there has requested to speak with someone investigating abuse at the Lyon facility. Her name is Maria Fischer, age 26, former secretary from Hamburg. Hayes contacts the camp immediately. He arranges to travel there the next day. When he arrives, Maria is waiting in the camp administrator's office. She is thin, her hair is pulled back severely. Her hands shake when she lights a cigarette. Hayes introduces himself. Maria responds in good English. She learned it before the war. She worked for an import-export company. She tells Hayes she heard through the grapevine camp that someone was asking about Lyon, about the French corporal, about the women's work detail. She has been waiting for someone to ask, hoping someone would care. Hayes opens his notebook. Tell me everything. Maria talks for 3 hours. She confirms Anna's account completely. She was on the same work detail. She witnessed both beatings. She describes Laurent in detail, his height, his scar, his cruelty. She adds information Anna did not have. Laurent's last name, Moreau. She heard the guards call him Corporal Moreau. She describes the May 22nd incident. Anna dropped the crate. Moreau walked over calmly. too calmly. That was when Maria knew it would be bad. He ordered Anna to stand. Then he hit her so hard Maria heard the impact from across the room. It sounded like a bat hitting a side of meat. Anna fell. Moreau hit her twice more while she was down. Then he kicked her. Maria wanted to help, but she was terrified. They all were. Moreau had made it clear what happened to women who challenged him. The American guards stood at the door and watched. One of them looked away. The other reads a cigarette. Maria describes the second beating on May 31st. Anna was carrying ammunition boxes. She moved too slowly. Moreau came up behind her and struck her in the lower back. Anna dropped the boxes. He hit her again. Same spot. Maria saw Anna's eyes roll back. She collapsed like her strings had been cut. This time one of the guards called for a medic, a corporal named Jenkins. He examined Anna for maybe 2 minutes, touched her abdomen, asked if it hurts. Anna could barely respond. Jenkins gave her aspirin and declared her fit for light duty. Maria leans forward. I thought Jenkins knew it was serious, but he and Moreau joked together. They were friends. Jenkins covered for him. Hayes writes this down carefully. 2 perpetrators now. Moreau for the beating, Jenkins for the cover-up. The case is expanding. Maria provides more details. Moreau told the women he lost his sister when Germans burned his village in 1940. He said his sister was 14 years old, trapped in a burning building. He blamed every German for her death. The women on the work detail were his revenge. Hayes asks if Maria knows where Moreau is now. She shakes her head. He transferred out on June 8th, 2 days before Anna was shipped to America. Convenient timing. Hayes thanks Maria and takes her sworn statement. He asks if she would be willing to testify if charges are filed. Maria hesitates. Then she nods. Yes. Someone needs to speak for the girls who cannot speak for themselves. Hayes returns to Paris with new energy. He has corroboration, 2 independent witnesses with consistent accounts. He submits a formal request to the Free French Forces Liaison Office. He asks for Laurent Moreau to be located and detained for questioning. The Liaison Office responds within 48 hours. They will look into the matter. 1 week passes, no update. Hayes sends a follow-up request. The response is vague. Still investigating. Hayes escalates. He contacts Allied Joint Command. He provides both witness statements, Dr. Mitchell's medical report, photographs. He builds an undeniable case. Another week passes. Then the formal response arrives. It is dated August 15, 1945. The Free French Forces acknowledge that a corporal named Laurent Moreau served at the Lyon facility from May 11 to June 8, 1945. However, Corporal Moreau was discharged on June 15th. He is now a private citizen. French military justice has no jurisdiction over civilians. Furthermore, Moreau has returned to his home village of Saint-Rémy-de-Provence. French law requires that any criminal charges be filed through French civil courts. The French government will review evidence submitted through proper diplomatic channels. Hayes reads the letter 3 times. Each time his anger grows. This is obstruction. They are protecting him. He calls a contact at the American embassy in Paris. The contact confirms what Hayes suspected. The French government conducted an internal investigation. They verified the abuse occurred, but they decided prosecution would damage relations with the United States during a critical period. The decision came from high levels. Political calculation over justice. Hayes sits in his hotel room and stares at the letter. He thinks about Anna, about Maria, about the other women who suffered under Moreau. He thinks about the American guards who stood by and watched, about Medic Jenkins who falsified reports. The system is designed to produce this outcome: protect the institution, minimize scandal, sacrifice the victim. On August 28th, Hayes receives new orders from the War Department. Close the investigation by September 5th. File final report. No further resources authorized. Allied relationships are a priority. Hayes knows what this means. They are pulling the plug. The case dies here. But then something unexpected happens. A letter arrives at the War Department on August 30th. It is forwarded to Hayes the next day. The return address is Cleveland, Ohio. The sender is Private Daniel Cooper, recently discharged from the Army. Hayes opens the letter and begins reading. 4 pages, handwritten, coffee-stained. The words are simple but devastating. Cooper was a guard at Lyon from April to June 1945. He witnessed both beatings. He describes them in detail. The sound of the baton striking flesh, Anna's face going gray, the blood. He writes about standing at the door with Corporal Stevens, about wanting to intervene, about Stevens grabbing his arm and saying orders are orders. The Frenchman handles his prisoners his way. He writes about calling for Medic Jenkins after the second beating, about Jenkins examining Anna for less than 2 minutes and declaring her fine, about knowing she was not fine but not pushing back because he was just a private. He writes about carrying the guilt every day since, about not being able to sleep, about finally telling his mother, about her saying he could not change the past, but he could tell the truth now. He ends the letter with a direct statement. What happened to Anna Hoffman was wrong. It was torture. We all let it happen. I'm ashamed, but I am willing to testify if it helps. Hayes reads the letter twice more. Then he picks up the telephone. He calls the operator and asks for a connection to Cleveland. It takes 20 minutes to route the call. When Cooper's mother answers, Hayes identifies himself. He asks to speak with Daniel. Cooper comes to the phone. His voice is young, nervous. Hayes thanks him for the letter. He asks if Cooper would be willing to make a sworn statement. Cooper says yes. Hayes catches a train to Cleveland the next day. He arrives on August 7th. Cooper lives with his parents in a small house near the edge of town. He is 22 years old but looks younger. Farm boy features, honest eyes. They sit at the kitchen table. Cooper's mother brings coffee and then leaves them alone. Hayes takes out his notebook. He asks Cooper to tell him everything. Cooper talks for 2 hours. He provides details that match Anna and Maria's accounts perfectly. He identifies Moreau from a photograph Hayes obtained from Free French Records. That is him. I will never forget his face. Hayes asks the hard question. Why did you not report this at the time? Cooper looks down at his hands. Our commanding officer told us the French were running their section of the facility. He said we were not to interfere with their methods unless it was a matter of life and death. I thought if I reported it, I would be the one in trouble. Hayes understands. The military runs on obedience. Questioning orders is career suicide. But that doesn't make it right. He asks Cooper if he knows where Medic Jenkins is now. Cooper shakes his head. Jenkins was transferred in mid-June. He heard the guy went to the Pacific Theater. No idea where he is now. Hayes takes Cooper's sworn statement. 3 witnesses now, Anna, Maria, Cooper. The case is airtight on facts, but facts do not matter when politics intervene. Hayes returns to Camp Clinton on August 10th. He visits Anna one more time. He tells her he found corroborating witnesses. He tells her the evidence is strong, but he also tells her the truth. The French government is refusing to cooperate. The War Department wants the investigation closed. Anna nods slowly. I told you no one would believe me. Hayes corrects her. People believe you. I believe you. Dr. Mitchell believes you. Maria believes you. Private Cooper believes you. The problem is not belief. The problem is that the people with power care more about politics than justice. Anna asks him what happens now. Hayes takes a breath. I am going to file the most comprehensive report I can. I am going to include every witness statement, every photograph, every piece of evidence. I cannot put Moreau in prison, but I can make sure his crimes are documented. I can make sure the truth survives even if justice does not. Anna looks out the window. The Mississippi summer sun pours through the glass. For so long thought if I just told the truth, someone would fix it. But the world does not work that way, does it? Hayes wishes he could disagree, but he cannot. No, he says quietly. It doesn't. He reaches into his briefcase and pulls out a sealed envelope. He hands it to Anna. This is a copy of my full report. Everything I found, everyone I interviewed. I want you to keep it. Someday you may have a daughter. When she is old enough, give this to her. Tell her what happened. Make sure the truth does not die with us. Anna takes the envelope. Her hands tremble. Why are you doing this? You don't even know me. Hayes stands. Because someone should have protected you. Someone should have stopped Moreau. Someone should have cared enough to do the right thing. We all failed. This report is my way of saying I am sorry. He walks to the door. Then he turns back. One more thing. You survived. That matters more than you think. Moreau wanted to break you. He failed. You are still here. That is its own kind of victory. Anna does not respond, but her eyes follow him as he leaves. Hayes spends the next 4 days writing his final report. 47 pages. Every detail, every witness, every failure of the system. He includes medical evidence, photographs, statements, timeline. He concludes with recommendations for policy changes, mandatory medical exams, independent oversight, female guards for female prisoners, anonymous reporting systems. He knows most of these recommendations will be ignored, but he writes them anyway. On September 5th, he submitted the report to the War Department. He sends copies to the International Red Cross and the National Archives with a request for declassification after 50 years. Then he packs his briefcase and leaves Camp Clinton. His work here is done. The investigation is closed. Laurent Moreau will never face trial. Medic Jenkins will never be held accountable. The system has protected itself. But the truth is documented, and sometimes that is all you can do. Anna watches from the infirmary window as Hayes drives away. She holds the sealed envelope in her lap. She doesn't know if she will ever open it. She does not know if telling her story mattered. But deep inside, in a place the beaters could not reach, she knows one thing. She survived. And survival is not nothing. September 15th, 1945. The Mississippi summer is beginning to fade. Morning air carries just a hint of coolness that promises autumn is coming. Anna Hoffman stands in the infirmary doorway with a small canvas bag containing everything she owns. 2 changes of clothes, a bar of soap, the sealed envelope from Major Hayes. The Bible Sarah Thompson gave her. Dr. Mitchell performs the final medical examination. He checks the surgical scar. Healed cleanly, no infection. He checks her weight. She has gained 14 pounds since arrival, still thin but no longer skeletal. He checks his eyes and sees what he expected. The physical wounds have closed. The psychological ones remain open. He signs the discharge papers. She is cleared for repatriation to Germany. But he adds a note in the margin. Patient requires long-term psychiatric care for trauma. He knows the note will be ignored. Germany is rubble and case. Mental health care is a luxury no one can afford. Sarah Thompson walks Anna to the transport truck. They don't speak much. What is there to say? Sarah pulls Anna into a hug. The girl stiffens at first, then slowly relaxes. Sarah feels her trembling. You are the bravest person I have ever known, Sarah whispers. Anna shakes her head. I am not brave. I just didn't die. Sarah pulls back and looks her in the eye. That is what brave means. Keeping going when everything tells you to stop. She presses the small Bible into Anna's hands. For when you feel alone. Anna nods and climbs into the truck. She sits in the back among 15 other German prisoners. All men, all silent. They drive away, and Sarah stands watching until the dust settles. The journey takes 3 weeks. Truck to ship, ship across the Atlantic. 9 days at sea in a cargo hold that smells of oil and vomit. Anna spends most of the voyage lying on her bunk. Other prisoners try to talk to her. She does not respond. She has learned that words are dangerous. Words lead to questions. Questions lead to memories. Memories lead to the warehouse in Lyon, to the sound of wood striking bone, to Laurent Moreau's face. The ship docks in Bremen on October 8th. The city is unrecognizable. Entire blocks reduced to rubble. Buildings stand like broken teeth against the sky. People move through the streets like ghosts, hollow-eyed, searching for food, for shelter, for family members who probably died months ago. Anna is processed through a displaced persons camp on the outskirts of the city. She fills out forms. Where were you born, Bavaria? Where is your family? I don't know. What skills do you have? Telephone operation. Typing. The woman behind the desk stamps the forms and hands Anna a ration card. Next, the camp is a converted school. 200 people crammed into classrooms meant for 30. Anna is assigned a bunk in a room with 40 other women. They range in age from 16 to 70. Some are former prisoners of war. Some are refugees from the East fleeing the Soviet advance. Some are simply lost. Anna spends 2 months in that camp, waiting. The Red Cross is trying to reunite families, but the process is slow. Records are incomplete. Communication is difficult. Many people do not want to be found. The past is too painful. In December, a Red Cross worker finds Anna in the mess hall. Your mother is alive. She is in Stuttgart. We can arrange transport. Anna feels something crack inside her chest. Relief, error, joy, grievance, all mixed together. Her mother survived, but her father did not. She already knew he died on the Eastern Front in 1943. Now she has to face her mother and see the same knowledge reflected back. The reunion happens in a displaced persons processing center in Stuttgart. Anna walks into a room and sees her mother sitting on a wooden bench. Helene Hoffman has aged 20 years and two. Her hair is completely gray, her face is lined, her hands shake, but her eyes are still the same. They embrace without words. Helene holds her daughter and feels how thin she is, how fragile. She wants to ask what happened, where Anna has been, what she experienced, but she knows better. The war taught everyone to stop asking questions. The answers are always worse than the silence. They find a small room to rent in Esslingen am Neckar, a town near Stuttgart. The room is on the third floor of a building that lost half its roof to bombing, 10 feet by 12 feet. One window, a hot plate, a shared bathroom down the hall. This is home now. Anna finds work as a secretary for a construction company. Her typing skills are valuable. The company is rebuilding. There is more work than workers. She sits at a desk 8 hours a day typing contracts and invoices. The routine helps. It keeps her mind occupied. Keep the memories at bay. But the nights are different. The nightmares come every night. She wakes up wasting, drenched in sweat. Helene hears her daughter crying through the thin walls, but does not know how to help. She brings tea, sits beside Anna's bed, holds her hand until the shaking stops. Anna never tells her mother what happened in Lyon. She never mentions Laurent Moreau or the beatings or the surgery in Mississippi. When Helene asks about the scar on her side, Anna says it was from an accident during transport. Helene does not believe her, but does not push. The years pass slowly. 1946 becomes 1947, becomes 1948. Germany begins to rebuild. The Marshall Plan brings money and hope. New buildings rise from the rubble. The economy starts to recover. But Anna remains stuck. Frozen in a moment, 3 years passed. She avoids men. When male coworkers speak to her, she keeps her eyes down. She never stays late at the office. She takes different routes home each day. Small paranoid habits that make her feel safer. She knows Laurent Moreau is in France. She knows he cannot reach her. But trauma does not respond to logic. In 1951, everything changed. A man named Klaus Weber starts working at the construction company. He is an accountant, quiet, polite. He lost his left leg at the Battle of Kursk in 1943. He walks with a cane and a slight limp. He never talks about the war, never brag about battles or heroism. He simply does his job and goes home. Klaus notices Anna, the way she flinches when someone raises their voice, the way she never eats lunch with the other secretaries, the way she seems to be carrying invisible weight. He recognizes it. He carries his own weight. Different battles, same scars. He starts small. Good morning. Good evening. Simple greetings that require no response. After 2 months, he asks if she would like to have coffee. Just coffee? Nothing more. Anna says no. He nods and does not ask again. But he continues the greetings. Continue treating her with quiet respect. After 6 months, Anna surprises herself by saying yes to coffee. They sit in a small cafe and talk about nothing important. The weather, the reconstruction, books they have read. Klaus doesn't ask about her war. She doesn't ask about him. They exist in the present tense only. 3 months later, Klaus asks if she would like to have dinner. Anna hesitates, then agree. Dinner becomes a regular occurrence, once a week, then twice. Klaus never pressures her, never tries to hold her hand, never moves too fast. One evening after dinner, Anna tells him she was a prisoner of war. Klaus nods. I thought so. Anna asks how he knew. He taps his cane against the floor. We all have scars. Some you can see, some you cannot. In April 1951, Klaus asks Anna to marry him. It is not romantic. They are sitting on a bench in a park. He simply says, I think we would be good for each other. We both understand that the past does not disappear, but maybe we can build something new anyway. Anna says yes, not because she is in love, not yet, but because Klaus feels safe. And safety is something she thought she would never feel again. The wedding is small. Helene wait. A few co-workers, a priest. Simple vows. When Klaus slips the ring on Anna's finger, his hand is steady. When Anna slips the ring on her finger, hers is trembling, but she completes the motion. This is what moving forward looks like. One trembling step at a time. They rent a small apartment, 2 rooms. Klaus is patient. He understands that intimacy is complicated for Anna. He does not ask, he waits. Slowly over months, she begins to trust. Not completely, but enough. In 1953, Anna became pregnant. The news terrifies her. She is going to be responsible for another human being. What if she is broken? What if the trauma has damaged her ability to love? What if she passes the darkness on? Klaus holds her while she cries and tells her she will be a good mother. She doesn't believe him, but she wants to. Elizabeth Weber was born on a cold morning in March. 7 pounds, 2 ounces. Perfect fingers, perfect toes. When the nurse places the baby in Anna's arms, something shifts inside her. This tiny person depends on her, needs her, trusts her completely. Anna looks down at her daughter's face and makes a decision. I will not let the past poison your future. I will give you the childhood I lost. It is harder than she expected. Motherhood is exhausting. The baby cries at night and Anna jolts awake with her heart racing. For a moment, she is back in the warehouse. Then she remembers. Lyon is thousands of miles away. Laurent Moreau cannot reach her here. She lifts Elizabeth from the crib and walks the floor, singing softly. German lullabies her mother sang to her. The baby quiets. Anna keeps walking, keeps singing. This is healing. Slow and painful, but real. In 1957, he was born. Thomas. The family moves to a small house in Esslingen. 3 bedrooms, a garden. Klaus's accounting practice is doing well. Germany's economic miracle is lifting everyone. The dark years are fading into memory, but Anna never forgets. She throws away newspapers with articles about war crimes trials. She changes the channel when documentaries about the war come on television. She builds walls around the past and teaches her children not to climb them. Elizabeth and Thomas grow up knowing their mother has secrets. They see the scars, physical and otherwise, but they learn not to ask until 1968. Elizabeth is 15, curious, rebellious in the way teenagers are. She finds an old photograph in a drawer. Her mother as a young woman, thin, haunted eyes. She brings it to Anna and asks the question that has been building for years. Mama, what happened to you during the war? Anna looks at the photographer. She is 18 in that picture, taken in the displaced persons camp in 1945, a lifetime ago. She tries to answer, but the words stick in her throat. Tears come instead, deep, wrenching sobs that shake her entire body. Elizabeth is frightened. She has never seen her mother cry like this. She apologizes, says she shouldn't have asked. Anna shakes her head and pulls her daughter close. It is not your fault. I just cannot talk about it yet. That night, Anna realizes something. Silence has not healed her. It has only delayed the pain. Eventually, the truth will demand to be heard. 4 years later, in 1972, Elizabeth turned 19. The same age Anna was when she arrived at Camp Clinton. Anna retrieves the sealed envelope Major Hayes gave her 27 years ago. She carried it through 7 moves, hidden it in drawers and closets, never opened it. But now it is time. She calls Elizabeth into the kitchen. They sit at the table with coffee. Anna slides the envelope across the surface. Open it, she says. Elizabeth breaks the seal. Inside are documents, reports, photographs, witness statements. She begins reading. Her face goes pale, then angry, then sad. It takes 3 hours to read everything. When she finishes, she looks at her mother with new eyes. Mama, why did you never tell us? Anna's voice is quiet. I thought silence would protect you. I was wrong. Elizabeth reads Major Hayes's personal letter. His words about justice and truth and survival. She wipes her eyes. This man, Laurent Moreau, is he still alive? Anna shrugs. I don't know. I stopped looking a long time ago. But Elizabeth cannot let it go. She writes letters to the French government, to the International Red Cross, to retired Major Hayes in Boston. Most go unanswered. But Hayes responds. He is 66 now, retired. But he remembers Anna like it was yesterday. He tells Elizabeth that he tracked Moreau through private channels in 1967. The man returned to Saint-Rémy de Provence. ran a small cafe until 1965, then retired. As of Hayes's latest information, Moreau is still alive. He never faced justice. He never even apologized. Elizabeth wants to sue, to protest, to demand accountability. Anna understands the anger. She felt it too once. But she has made peace with the injustice, or learned to live with it. The difference is hard to define. She tells her daughter something she learned over 27 years. Justice would be nice, but I think to live instead of hate. Hate would have killed me just as surely as that ruptured spleen. Elizabeth struggles to understand, but eventually she accepts her mother's choice. Some battles cannot be won. Some wounds cannot be healed. You just learn to carry them. The envelope goes back into a drawer. Life continues. Elizabeth goes to university. Thomas gets married. Anna becomes a grandmother. The years accumulate. The world is changing. Germany reunified. The Berlin Wall falls. The 20th century ends. In 1987, something happens that Anna never learns about. Laurent Moreau dies in a hospital in Avignon. He is 87 years old. Lung cancer. His son Pierre sits at his bedside during the final days. Moreau becomes delirious in the last week. He speaks about things Pierre does not understand. The camps, German girls, mistakes. On his final day, he grabs Pierre's hand with surprising strength. Tell them I am sorry. Tell the girl I am sorry. Pierre is confused. What girl? His father's eyes are wild. The camps. I hurt people. German prisoners. I was angry about your aunt, about the village, but they were just kids. I beat them. One girl almost died. I never apologized. He dies an hour later. Pierre sits with the body and tries to process what he heard. His father was a hero of the resistance. Streets are named after him. Memorials honor him. But now this deathbed confession, this admission of war crimes. Pierre does nothing with the information for 32 years. He tries to forget, tries to preserve his father's legacy, but the guilt grows. In 2019, he reads an article about prisoner of war abuse. The details match his father's confession. He realizes the story is real. He writes an account and publishes it online. You see, I am the son of Laurent Moreau. My father was a hero of the resistance, but he was also a man who tortured teenagers and never faced consequences. I apologize on his behalf. I know it is not enough. The account goes viral in France. Debate eruptions. Should Moreau's legacy be revised? Should his name be removed from memorials? The town of Saint-Rémy-de-Provence votes to remove his name from the veteran memorial, not to erase him, but to acknowledge the complexity of his life. But Anna never knows about this. She died in 2003 at age 76. Cancer. Quick and merciless. She spent her final weeks in a hospice bed surrounded by family. Elizabeth, Thomas, 5 grandchildren. Klaus had died in 1998. She was ready to join him. In her final days, she asked Elizabeth to bring her a notebook. She wanted to write something down. Elizabeth thought it would be a letter to the grandchildren. Final wisdom. Instead, Anna wrote about Lyon, about Laurent Moreau, about the beatings and the surgery, and Major Hayes. She wrote about survival, about choosing to live, about building a family despite the trauma. Her final entry was written 12 days before her death. I am 76 years old. Cancer is winning, but I want this understood. I survived. Not just the war, not just the camps, not just the beatings. I survived the silence. I survived the injustice. I survived the world forgetting. I built a life. I loved my children. I found peace. That is victory. Laurent Moreau is dust somewhere in France, his name erased from memorials. But I am remembered by my family. My story is told. I won. Elizabeth read these words at Anna's funeral. Half the attendees had no idea about Anna's past. The other half finally understood why their quiet, gentle mother sometimes flinched at Ray's voices, why she never watched war movies, why she kept the radio volume low. After the funeral, Elizabeth found boxes in Anna's attic, labeled in her mother's handwriting, for Elizabeth, private. Inside were 8 notebooks, Anna's journals from 1995 to 2003, thoughts she never spoke aloud. Elizabeth spent weeks reading them, her mother's voice coming through the pages. Reflections on the 50th anniversary of arriving at Camp Clinton. Thoughts about Dr. Mitchell and whether he ever thought about the German girl whose life he saved. Memories of Major Hayes and his quiet determination to document truth even when justice was impossible. One entry stood out, written on the anniversary of the first beating, May 22nd, 1998. 53 years ago today, Laurent Moreau hit me for the first time. I can still feel it sometimes. Phantom pain in my ribs. The doctors say it is psychological. Maybe, but it feels real. People ask if I forgave him. I say yes. That is a lie. The truth is, I do not forgive him. I just stopped letting him rent space in my head. Unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. He won if I spend my life hating him. So I choose indifference. Elizabeth copied the journals and deposited them with a local historical archive. In 2018, the United States National Archives declassified Major Hayes's full investigation report. 50 years had passed. The documents became public record. A researcher found the report and contacted Anna's family. Would they be willing to participate in a documentary? Elizabeth said yes. Her mother's story deserved to be told. The documentary aired on PBS in 2019, The Girl Who Survived Her Liberators. It combined Hayes's investigation with interviews with Elizabeth and Thomas, with archival footage and dramatic recreations, with context about the hundreds of thousands of prisoners of war processed through Allied facilities. The response was overwhelming. Millions of viewers, thousands of comments, many from children and grandchildren of World War II veterans. Some saying they never knew this side of the war existed. Others saying their fathers or grandfathers had hinted at things they saw, but never explained. In 2020, the French government issued a formal apology. We regret that justice was not served in 1945. We acknowledge that Laurent Moreau committed war crimes and our government protected him for political reasons. We apologize to Anna Hoffman and her family. The United States Army followed with their own statement. We apologize for our failure to protect Anna Hoffman and other prisoners of war from abuse in Allied facilities. We commit to ensuring such failures do not happen again. Empty words from bureaucracies covering old sins. But Elizabeth appreciated them anyway. Not for her mother, Anna was beyond apologies, but for the principle. Truth acknowledged is better than truth buried. In 2019, Elizabeth and Thomas created the Anna Hoffman Foundation. Mission statement: advocate for prisoner of war rights and document survivor stories. They established an annual scholarship for women studying international law. Small gestures, but gestures matter. Today, if you visit the National Archives in Washington, you can request Box 451A. Inside, you will find Major Robert Hayes's 47-page investigation report. Witness statements from Anna Hoffman, Maria Fisher, and Daniel Cooper. Medical documentation from Dr. James Mitchell. Photographs that are difficult to look at. And one pressed yellow daisy, faded now, brittle, but preserved. The daisy came from the flowers Hayes brought Anna during their first interview. She kept it pressed between the pages of Sarah Thompson's Bible for 58 years. When Elizabeth donated the Bible to the archives, the flower was still there. A researcher sits at a table in the archives reading room. She is writing a dissertation on post-war justice systems. She opens Box 451A and begins reading. Anna's story unfolds across the documents. The researcher takes notes, makes connections, sees patterns. This is how truth survives. Not through justice, not through punishment, but through documentation. Through families who refuse to forget. Through researchers who care enough to read old files. Anna Hoffman was one girl among millions. One story among countless stories. But her voice did not disappear. Major Hayes made sure of that. Elizabeth made sure of that. And now, decades later, students and scholars and ordinary people learn what happened in a warehouse in Lyon in May 1945. They learn that the good guys are not always good, that liberation does not always mean freedom, that the end of war does not mean the end of violence. These are uncomfortable truths, but truth is often uncomfortable. Anna understood this. In one of her final journal entries, she wrote about truth and justice and the difference between them. Justice is what should happen. Truth is what did happen. We do not always get justice, but we can always preserve truth. And truth, even when it comes too late, still matters. The researcher closes the file and sits quietly for a moment. Then she returns Box 451A to the archive clerk. The box goes back on the shelf. waiting for the next person who cares enough to look. Anna's story lives on, not in monuments or memorials, but in documents and memories and the quiet determination of people who believe that every voice matters, even voices that were silenced, even stories that were buried, even justice that never came. This is how we honor the dead, not by forgetting the hard parts, not by sanitizing history, but by telling the whole truth, the victories and the failures, the heroism and the cruelty, the survival and the pity. Anna Hoffman survived. She built a life. She loved her children. She found peace, and when she died, she left behind a record. A will to witness. The last word belongs to her. From her final journal entry, the words she wanted her grandchildren to remember. I was not a hero. I wasn't special. I was just a girl who refused to let cruelty have the final word. That is all anything of us can do. Keep living, keep loving, keep telling the truth even when the truth hurts, especially when the truth hurts. Because truth is the only thing that survives when everything else turns to dust.